I'd like to start with something that was actually just stated in the introduction. The Central Coast is vulnerable to drought. And while that seems obvious to many of us, it's also a little bit unsettling to many people around as well. But no city on the Central Coast is completely immune from drought. And while that might seem a bit concerning, we at the city of San Luis Obispo have actually come to hold this truth as a guiding principle, and we rely on this fact to constantly prepare ourselves for the exact situation we find ourselves in now, drought. In fact, the city of San Luis Obispo has dedicated so many years of resources to this exact issue that the city was recently ranked #1 by an independent study conducted last year as having the most water resilient supply in the entire SLO County region. It hasn't always been that way though. During the drought of the 1980s, the city was actually down to about only 18 months of water left. And if we weren't spared by what was later called the Miracle March rains, it could have been a pretty dire situation for us. But following that time, the city, and when I say the city, what I really mean is the partnership of our staff, our city council, and our community really came together, and we made decisions and we made significant monetary investments in new water supply sources. So today we actually have 3 surface water supplies. We have Santa Margarita Lake, Whale Rock Reservoir, and Nacimiento Reservoir, as well as our recycled water system. We also know though that these changes alone and this extra water isn't going to be all that saves us. So we're continuing to look for new ways of improving our water supply. In the state of California, the cheap water's gone, and new water supplies can take years and often decades to actually bring online. So the time to plan for these new resources is now. To this end, we're working on expanding our groundwater program to further improve our resiliency. And through the work being done at our Water Resource Recovery Facility, or our WRF, that's our wastewater plant over on Prado Road if you're not familiar with it, we are setting the course for reusing our highly treated wastewater as a future drinking water supply. But having the water supplies alone isn't enough. Like any successful enterprise, we need a solid business plan. And at the city of San Luis Obispo, we have those in our general plan and our guiding water policies, which have been adopted by our city council. We manage our water supplies in 3 accounts or buckets. So we have our primary supply, our secondary supply, and our reliability reserve. This first bucket, the primary water supply, this is where we store all the water we need for all current use and all future development in the city. Everything in the city's general plan already has water set aside for it. Our second bucket is our secondary supply. This is our drought buffer. We keep this water there for, it's like a savings account that we keep there for a non-rainy day or non-rainy years as we're seeing ourselves in right now. And then the third bucket is our reliability reserve. This is the water we set aside by policy in case we lose one of those primary water supplies. This bucket is held in reserve and cannot be used for development. So this really is our secondary savings account. So while we also understand that climate impacts are going to play a larger role in the future, we have already adjusted our water projection models to account for what NOAA and other leading climate scientists have told us are the predicted scenarios for future climate change. Earlier, I spoke of the partnership with the community, and this really is the most important part of the whole story here. The people in SLO are among the best stewards of water in the state. We use less water per capita than all but a very few communities. This is done through new plumbing and water appliance standards, changes in outdoor landscaping. You'll walk around town, you see how many of the lawns have been ripped out. People are putting in drought tolerant landscapes, and just plain everyday thoughtfulness when using water. And that has gone to really making us water secure. The water conservation ethic of this community is very strong. In fact, we are actually using less overall water today, not just per capita, but overall water use than we were in the beginning of the drought in the 1980s. And that's inclusive of all the population growth, as well as, I know that's a good thing right there, right? I mean, we're using less water overall. So that includes population growth, as well as all the economic growth that has occurred since that time. So I know we're hearing a lot of conversations today throughout the county, throughout the state on drought, but I'm happy to stand here before you this morning and report that the city of San Luis Obispo remains water secure through this drought. To learn more about the city's water resources and how we manage it, please visit our utilities website. You can get straight to it at slowwater.org, not .com, slowwater.org, and we have a lot of other information. We're also out at community events. Please visit us at Farmers Market or give us a call and we'd be happy to give you more information. So thank you for your time this morning.